Hey, welcome back, Daily MWOD. We are hanging out with a special guest, Dr. Julie Foucher. Can we say that yet?
Almost.
Almost. I'm going to go just parentheses. Now, you may know her from her work as a physician. You may know her from her amazing podcast, and you may know her from her ability to suffer on an exquisite level. In town, working with Pure Pharma, you do a little piece around, you did a little talk for our community. Anyway, we talked her into coming up so we could torture her. Now you got off the plane in classic Foucher style, then you smashed yourself. So we're gonna have a little talk. So we're gonna do a little what we call quad smash-orama, chit chat. So it's like put you in a little uncomfortable situation, and then you really get to find out who you are, and it's like secret self-torture talking. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up overhead with a band. So if you're playing at home, you can definitely quad smash at home. And then what you're gonna do instead is spend some time working in a lunge or with an anterior band distraction. So we'll when we get to the second piece, we'll give you a mod at home. Okay? So here's what we're doing. First things first. Set the clock. We're gonna try to get 4 minutes per quad, or as long as we can. So here's the rule. What we see is what's happening is, so what we've got is a big heavy ball. I've got a 50, Julie's got 30. She should actually take the 50 technically, because and if you want to lean up against the back of the wall,
good idea.
You can just chill. And then here's what we're seeing is two things. One is people aren't breathing. So you see how you just kind of stop breathing? All right, so we want to make sure you're breathing all the way in, all the way out. I did this little coupling on the assault bike yesterday, which is my favorite thing. Hold 440 watts, that's my threshold right now, for a minute. Hop off.
A minute.
Power clean, 225, front squat for 2 or 3.
Wow.
And I repeat that cycle until I'm done.
Any rest? No.
So whatever you think is appropriate.
Okay.
Otherwise, you just kind of cycle back and forth. And I usually do like 29 minutes of that. And today I'm feeling, you know that place when your quads start to you're like, I think I'm already sore in the middle of the workout?
Yes.
That's what happened. So here's what we're gonna do. You're going to load up, and the goal here is not just to smash, I want you to be active. We're gonna try to get as much nervous system as we can. So you're going to twist, right? Now flex your quad.
Oh.
There, isn't that interesting? And then relax, and you come off tension immediately.
Okay.
So we're gonna keep winding up, flex the quad, and then relax. And it's not clear on an area until you can flex the quad underneath the ball and have it be pleasant, not torturous.
I don't call that pleasant, but it's getting there.
All right, so you are just about to move to residency.
Yes.
And you've been working on this podcast at the same time. So is it true that if you want something done, you give it to a busy woman?
That's so true. So true. I'm actually a little bit nervous because I have a few months off now before I start residency.
So lazy.
So I just, I'm trying to find things to make sure I stay really busy.
Now, this is actually feeling great. So my spot is feeling great. So I'm just going to go up a little bit. And now all of a sudden, it's not great anymore. Not great. Okay, so you are going into family medicine. What is that?
Yes. Family medicine is primary care. It's caring for people from birth all the way until the grave. It's sort of
kind of a less popular specialty now? Is that true?
Yes, it is definitely in higher demand because no one wants to go into it. And we need primary care doctors. If we have good primary care, ideally, then we don't have so much of a need for the specialists and the hospital care. But unfortunately, it's not paid as well as other specialties, so that I think deters a lot of people from going into it. And then it's just hard. Most of the systems you're set up to have 15-minute appointments, and you don't get to really know your patients in the same way that you would like to. So it's not as popular as.
My grandfather's a radiologist, and but my stepfather is a family practice doctor. So I know a little bit.
About this, yes.
Do you feel like the family practice doc is sort of the place where we can do a better job of talking about sleep and nutrition and health and all of that?
I think that is the place where it should be talked about, but like I said, the way that most people are practicing right now, and especially if you're working for a big system, which is where most small practices are being bought up, there's not time. Because they're being forced to see people in such quick appointments that it's more like emergency management and putting band-aids on problems, and often there isn't enough time to talk about the important stuff. And so that's why I'm going into it, because it needs to change.
And you can actually, it's very interesting. We were just talking earlier. You just had an interview with Amelia Boone, who is an MWOD friend. And we'll actually be seeing her in Hawaii in an upcoming XPT experience.
Very nice.
And but it's interesting. You actually point out, through her that she's I think an investment banker.
She's an attorney.
She's an attorney.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
She works at Apple.
You can't trust attorneys, except for J-Star, my wife. But it turns out a lot of the women I know who are ass kickers are, you can do more than one thing. Do you feel like sometimes in the professional competitive world that people are leaving additional capacity on the table? Is that possible? Because you have done an extraordinary job being a physician, or trained to be a physician, and having this life as a competitive athlete. And I think Amelia Boone also, one of the world's best obstacle racers, and an attorney at the same time.
Yeah, I do wonder about that. And I think that I've noticed even the years where I've had more focus on competition and training, I didn't feel as whole like I wasn't using all the different aspects of my brain or my body. And so when I've been more balanced, like even this year, I'm still training just for fun, I'm not competing, but I have that, and then I have the school and I'm being challenged more mentally and intellectually. I feel a lot more satisfied and a lot more like I'm really using everything that I have. And so I think for me at least, it helps to have multiple different things that you're doing, because you can't do one thing all day.
Do you think that forces rest time? I told her to switch legs. I'm ready to switch legs. I'm ready to some more screaming.
It feels much better.
It's better, right? Yeah, you just got to give it time and attention. Do you, so here's an example. Carrie Walsh is one of our homegirls. She has, and she's obviously Carrie Walsh, volleyball player extraordinaire, but she has 4 kids. She's an amazing mom.
That is such an amazing thing for me to see. Even at the games, the CrossFit games, the women who have kids who are competing at that level is just mind-blowing to me. And I think it puts things in perspective.
It does a little bit.
It's like when you're training, competing, you feel like you're putting yourself above everything else and you're being really selfish, but when you have kids, you just can't do that.
I'm reading a proof copy of a book that's coming out, a couple of our friends have written, and one of the things they talk about is sort of when people figure out how not to burn out, they have natural on-off cycles, right? And do you think sometimes they're saying around business and work, the mistake is sometimes you don't have off, right?
Right.
You need to work really hard and then let your brain recover so there's room to sort of adapt. Totally. Same thing obviously happens in strength conditioning. Do you think that though the duality gives you the forced off because you have to think about school or training, and now you get to think, what I mean?
Totally. And then you don't feel guilty about it. Like sometimes if all I was doing was school, and I would go work out or I would be spending all day in the gym, I would be thinking like, oh, I should be studying, or I'm missing out, or I'm losing ground. But if you have 2 things that you're focusing on, you can be more content because you're like, I have to be doing this. And I think that helps. I think it helps to have something else to focus on.
Do you think people are going to hear this and be like, Julie Foucher is not really in the real world because she's so pretty, she's so strong, she's so smart and popular? I mean, you also have this podcast that you've been managing to do every other week.
Yes.
Can you talk about the scope and arc of the podcast? Where can we find out and listen to it, because it's great, and sort of where you've been focusing? Sure.
So I started the podcast right around the time I was retiring from competition, because I needed something to do to still stay in touch with the community, and I felt like I had so many great opportunities and I met so many interesting people through competing, and I wanted to be able to share their stories and their knowledge with a wider audience. And so I've been doing it every other week. It's called Pursuing Health. You can find it on iTunes, on my website, Stitcher.
What's your website?
JulieFoucher.com. And basically I interview a lot of experts or people, really great athletes, people in the CrossFit community, but then also have been branching out more into medicine. So other physicians, even some just real personal stories of real people who've used lifestyle to overcome their health challenges like eating disorders or fibromyalgia or diabetes, and just sharing their stories.
You mean
that I think are really,
people
really
stuff?
Cool. Yeah, like real people.
Well, dismount, I'm done with that. Now we're going, okay. So if you were playing at home, what you're going to do now is spend time in our lunge shape, anti-your band distraction, and get a couple minutes on it. You'll be doing it as long as we're doing. You and I have a different story, yes. You're gonna hook up, and what we're gonna try to do is, you know, Thomas Myers anatomy trains, right? Looking at the fascial, kind of fascial meridians. What we're gonna do is we're gonna open up the hip with some isometric. We're also gonna tie in this overhead archetype. Yeah, so we're gonna wind up the fascia. So you're just going to take a bite out of this.
Okay.
Good. And we're gonna come down, and we're basically gonna load from the top. So the idea is to put the shoulder into a stable position, and then I want you to just hang, keep the butt squeezed, and try to bring yourself forward. The goal here is to try to lean on the butt. So almost like you're working towards a splits position, and then we're gonna try to do as much deep breathing as we can. Breathe into your stomach, and you feel that's a little tight there, that high quad, and then exhale. And then what you do is pull your elbow down. So pull your elbow down, just pull that lat in a little bit, hold that, take a breath. And now release the arm. Now we're gonna take a big breath. We're gonna hold it, and we're gonna try to imagine opening up the rib cage on that breath. So take a big breath here. Hold, and then just lean into that, and you'll see that your obliques feel like they're gonna pop off. Hold, 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 then release. And then take 2 breaths here, full breaths. Keeping the butt squeezed, keep hanging on it. We're gonna do that cycle one more time. Come out of tension a little bit. Take a big breath here. Hold. Keep the butt squeezed, go as far as you can. Using that breath to stretch out that lat, open up that trunk. Keep the butt squeezed, release, and then 2 breaths here. Good, and then come out of tension. Woo. Woo. Big opener, so basically we're trying to open the high quads after working on the low quads. I know. We feel like we should do some handstands or something. All right, other side. Excellent. Yeah, just taking that big lunge shape. Imagine sort of some of the rotation they do in yoga, but we're just forcing the up position first, right? And we're gonna take a big breath here. And then just hang on that a little bit, butt squeeze the whole time. Imagine opening up that long line. And then release, and then take 2 breaths into that empty space. Try to force air into this compromised shape. Trying to improve your ability to take a breath when you do like pull-ups, right?
Yeah.
Okay, big breath one more time. Pull the arm down, lean in. Release. And then take 2 breaths here. Hang out here, we're gonna do the cycle one more time. Big breath here. Breath hold. Go as far as you can, be as long as you can, butt squeezed. Imagine we're doing a big muscle up. Open, open, open. Release. Now try to breathe into that compromised space. And then we'll dismount. Oh, amazing time. It's like tying the whole room together.
Yeah.
Dude, Julie Foucher, good chatting. JulieFoucher.com and your podcast, which you should listen to.
Pursuing Health.
Pursuing Health.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow.